One of the most common wild alliums that I know of that I don't see a lot in Minnesota and Wisconsin, but is pretty widespread everywhere else in North America. This is Allium vineale. This is an invasive wild allium from Europe. And you can see here, the other name is onion grass, and they can just be everywhere in certain places. This is my friend Julia's yard down in South Carolina a couple weeks ago, and she was nice enough to let me dig some. I packed them up in my suitcase, kept them in the mini fridge for an entire week, then kept them for another week while I cooked the wisteria flowers from last week. But you're going to take them home and you're going to wash them off, and these are going to be a pain to clean. So it took me about 2 hours to clean about 6 ounces of these, and I could clean 20 pounds of ramps in that time. And you're going to need to wash them multiple times. But the first step is just to take the big clumps, put them in a very large bowl or a container. I also like to use big polycarbonate or plastic bus tubs. And we're going to remove that little sheath from around the base of the bulb, just like you would if you were cleaning a ramp. And then once those are cleaned, now we're going to trim off the root section. And like I said, this is going to be a process. They have a cool flavor. They kind of taste like white onions a little bit, but a little bit of a garlicky flavor to them. They are not the equal of ramps at all, but the nice thing is they're invasive, so you can harvest as much as you want. So you want a nice big bowl. I'll do this over the sink. Like I said, wash them a couple times. I'm not going to pour that dirty water down the sink. That will always go outside. But the moral of the story here is that this is going to take some time. And it's totally fine to just cut the above ground leafy green, like chive parts. And that will, that will save you from cleaning all of these bulbs. And you can make things like wild onion oil. And I'll put a link to that in the video description. There I'm just trimming the bulbs off. And with the tender flower stems here, they're a little chewy. So you really want to cut them nice and fine, just like you would chives, or think of them like a mini green garlic. Now, one thing I haven't seen many people talk about is that even after I'd peeled off the sheath, there was an outer layer of the onion, and this was quite bitter. This was noticeably bitter, especially when I fried them up. Not bad with bacon, but something some people might notice. One of my favorite things here was a little bit of English peas with pancetta, mint, chives, and wild onions. Let's cook about 2 ounces of bacon. Here I'm using my homemade bacon, about an ounce of wild onion bulbs. Can you see how small these things are? Render the bacon, add the onions, cook them a little bit. If you cook them longer, they're going to kind of blend into the background. Add the peas. We're going to finish it off with some chives and a nice handful of fresh mint. And that's a nice little dish. But they'll blend into the background there. If you want the flavor kind of more at the forefront, you can just take the green parts and make onion butter. That's great warmed up and spooned onto soup, like that Nettle soup there. You can use my ramp butter. Again, I'll put a link in the video description. My favorite thing was making a hot onion butter. So basically just take a generous amount of butter, cook the onions in it, and spoon it on stuff. There's a little saffron rice pilaf with the first nettles of the year and wild pine nuts. And here was my favorite. I just cooked an ounce in like 2 tablespoons of butter, and I put it over a plate of fried eggs with bacon and toast, and it was great. There's more recipes and ideas for cooking on my website. There's a link at the top of the video description for that. Thanks for watching.